Hi, welcome. My name is Dale McCluskey. And on this video, I'd like to take a minute to discuss how learning intersects the relational approach to training in relation to influencing the direction of the dog's decision-making process. So oftentimes what creates a problem for people is when they shift the focus away from how a dog's decision-making process is being influenced at the relational level through nature. Okay, so they look at this roadmap of how in regards to learning theory, the roadmap of learning theory, with using motivating agents such as treats and associations or bridges built through clickers. And then generally what happens is people will be deceived because that's when physical response doesn't always represent changes happening. Either the underlying motives of the type of influence being established or not being established between dogs and owners. So people can be fooled into, a lot of trainers can be fooled into making certain assumptions that just are not true. So what makes this system of training very unique and different is in that it takes training down to the level of an intervention. It approaches change at the intervention level, at the relational level. So the focus is really on changing how the owner thinks within the context of leadership and relational change through the specifics of what I define as relational influence to create change. Okay, so it's just like an echo. As that bridge is being built, as relational change is moving forward, then what happens, okay, this is the whole context of the glue that holds everything together, how a dog's decision-making process is influenced, how you can direct, okay, the decision-making process of the dog onto what you want. What happens is the dog's decision-making process begins to come within the follower script, okay, which means the focus level of the dog shifts onto what you want, okay. And then what through the model itself, when I start to talk about what defines learning, okay, this whole idea about learning, how that fits or intersects into the model, is that learning is basically a marker, a relational marker, okay, which means that because we've connected with our dog rightly, relational changes happen, so therefore role change is taken hold, and now we have the level of focus that we want and we need on what we want, okay, then we can start to connect certain dots to direct the dog's decision-making process onto various task-related activities. So therefore, then when we say good boy, okay, we mark it, okay, as we're targeting, and then when we use certain influences, okay, certain motivating agents, it's not a problem, okay, because we've already created relational change at the intervention level. So the problem that people have is when they bring this ideology online too soon, and it gets in the way of relational change. Okay, people aren't focused on dogs through nature that way, and then you're contaminating the process, and you're putting yourself at risk of failing, basically. And then see the glue that holds everything together starts to come all apart, because then there's a lot of deception. The dog may perform well in certain situations, but in high distraction situations, everything falls apart. And you'll see it through service dog training. A lot of these groups are really trying to advocate this really positive approach using learning theory this way, and that's why it's very problematic. I get calls, people going in certain situations, and the dogs won't hold out. It all falls apart because, again, they're ignoring dogs as how their decision-making process is influenced this way, okay, through nature. So it's very, very important. It's critical to understand how the pieces fall into place, okay, because we want to make sure the level of relational change is going to happen first, so that then everything falls into place through laying down certain markers. And those markers, that's when all the fun stuff can happen. That's what I tell people. I mean, yes, there's a little more focus and some hard work at first at the intervention level, but then all the fun stuff happens after. Okay, that's all the easy stuff. Okay, that's all the things you can do and have your dog direct its mind. That's why in training at the police dog level, when the personality types of the people who are connecting with these dogs, when there's a natural alignment happening, the focus, what happens is the focus is already there before formal training even takes place. So therefore, it's more just connecting certain dots, and more just establishing certain markers to connect to where you want the dog's focus to go, because the focus is already has been aligned right. Okay, the relational change has already happened. So the problem is when you start to work a certain type of a training routine, such as say protection work, and then people are getting bitten and the dog won't release the bite because a level of relational change hasn't been established yet. So you're trying to basically do two things at the same time, and it turns into a frustrating experience. So the goal here is to make sure that we have the foundation laid first. That relational change has happened first. The focus is there. The drive of the dog is within that script as well. So you're not breaking the dog's spirit or drive. It's all being generated. It's all being unleashed within the follower script. And then the focus is there, and then we can just connect it however we want to connect it. So just have to think about the learning theory. You have to make sure you have right focus on what your goals are, and understand dogs, how the decision-making process is influenced at the relational level. That's critical. And you have to step back from everything to really understand and see it, be able to see the relational dynamics involved with how a dog's mind, the interplays of what's going on at that level. So this system is all about that. So I just encourage you to check out my system of training. It's truly one of a kind. It's very analytical. It breaks everything apart. Probably the only system that can really break things down at that level, that can really show you, instead of just a system says, well, we do it this way because it just works well and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not disagreeing with that. There's a lot of systems that do work extremely well, but when things go off the rails, even with certain systems, this system can actually break it apart and tell you exactly where the focus needs to shift. Because oftentimes, it's nothing to do with the dog itself. Okay, a lot of things get written off as a problem with the dog, or temperament, or whatever. When actually it's a training problem. It's a relational issue. Okay, it's how people are going about creating that change at the relational level. Okay, where the focus needs to be on. Really, the focus needs to shift onto the handler to make sure that they're connecting rightly with the dog. And then we get into the specifics of how that change actually happens within the context of influence. And this system, again, you look at the proactive nature of it, how moving the relationship from point A to point B, not using commands. It'll really kind of challenge people, because it'll really kind of throw people off a little bit, because it's very different. But I'm telling you something, it's really effective, because it takes it right down to the nature level, and it makes sure that change is happening, okay, first, before we get into this whole thing about directing the dogs, connecting those relational dots that way with what we want the dog to do. So anyway, thanks very much for watching. Hope you have a great day.